Welcome back, YouTube. Today we are looking at the massive rise, the tricky fall, and the possible return of physical media. Moving from physical media to digital downloads is one of the biggest changes of our time. For decades, the way we enjoyed entertainment was something we could hold in our hands. But as the digital world gets older, it is now filled with aggressive ways to make money, crazy subscription prices, and digital games being taken away without warning. Because of this, things are starting to change. Digital stores aren't as dominant as they used to be. Gamers and movie fans are realizing that buying digital just means you are renting it, and they are bringing physical media back to life. Today we will look at how big retail stores used to rule, how digital subscriptions took over, the problem with rising prices, and why physical copies are actually just better quality. Before fast internet and cloud gaming, getting access to high-quality entertainment completely relied on physical stores. The market was ruled by massive retail giants that weren't just places to buy things, but places where communities gathered. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Blockbuster Video was the undisputed king of home entertainment. At its absolute peak in 2004, the company employed over 84,300 people worldwide and ran a staggering 9,094 stores. The brand was the definition of weekend entertainment, giving you instant physical access to movies and video games. For the average consumer living in towns and suburbs all over the world, these local brick-and-mortar stores, alongside major retailers like Best Buy, Target, and Walmart, were the main ways to enter digital worlds. Similarly, the video game space was controlled by special retailers, mostly GameStop. After going public in 2002, the company grew incredibly fast by taking advantage of the booming home console market. Back then, buying a game or a movie was a final, permanent deal. You handed over cash for a physical cartridge or disc, and you owned it forever. That physical item could be traded, resold, lent to a friend, or kept forever on a shelf. The idea of a game company going back and changing, censoring, or blocking your access to the game after you bought it was impossible. The physical game market hit its highest point ever in 2008, making $11.6 billion in new physical video game sales in the United States alone. The system was healthy, supported by a huge secondhand market where used games and movies were traded freely. This gave great value to the players, even though it annoyed game publishers who didn't make money from used sales. However, the hassle of physical media, managing stock, driving to stores, and running out of shelf space at home, created a weakness that new technology would soon attack. The physical store model cost a lot of money to run, requiring huge spaces and lots of employees. Blockbuster failed to adapt to the changing tech world, saw its money drop by $3.24 billion by 2010, and eventually went bankrupt. GameStop managed to survive much longer, but it was a bumpy ride. By early 2021, GameStop became the center of a crazy stock market event, where everyday investors drove the stock price to over $500 a share to fight back against hedge funds that bet against the company. Even with that massive amount of money coming in, the actual business of selling discs kept shrinking. By 2025 and 2026, GameStop had to close nearly 475 stores across 43 states to deal with the permanent shift toward digital downloads. The era of the retail giant was basically over, replaced by an invisible digital system. The fall of the physical media empire didn't happen by accident. It was a massive shift driven by high-speed internet and the promise of ultimate convenience. Switching from physical media to streaming platforms was like switching from having your own water well to hooking up to city water. The city water gives you instant, amazing convenience, pumping water right into your home. But it also hands all the control over to a central company that can decide to shut off the valve at any time, leaving you with nothing. Netflix led this revolution. Starting out as a DVD-by-mail service that beat Blockbuster by getting rid of late fees, Netflix successfully switched to digital streaming, effectively killing the need for physical rental stores. By late 2024, Netflix had a global audience of over 282.7 million subscribers, keeping its spot as the undisputed streaming king, and predicting over $17 billion in subscription money for 2025. They even introduced ad-supported tiers which grabbed 70 million users just to keep the money flowing. Older media giants quickly followed to take back their movies and shows. Disney launched Disney Plus, which aggressively grabbed users, reaching about 127.8 million core subscribers by the end of 2024. When you add in Hulu's 55.5 million users, the Disney bundle is huge and stabilizing its growth. Amazon Prime Video also pushed hard by capitalizing on a massive library of around 20,000 movies. The entertainment industry had successfully trained the world to care more about instant access than actually owning things forever. This digital takeover happened at the exact same time in the video game industry. On PC, Valve's Steam store totally changed how games were sold. Steam offered crazy convenience, flexible pricing, and massive seasonal sales that normal stores just couldn't compete with. The need to drive to a local Best Buy or Walmart was totally skipped because you could download a game the second it came out. Console makers, seeing how much money they could make by selling directly to gamers, quickly adapted. The PlayStation Store and the Xbox Game Store grew from basic online shops into the main money makers for Sony and Microsoft. Digital games wiped out the costs of making discs, shipping them, and sharing profits with stores. For the gamer, a digital library felt like the ultimate convenience. Hundreds of games ready to play without getting off the couch, saved in the cloud and updated automatically. The damage to physical stores was brutal. The market for new physical video games shrank constantly for nearly 20 years. By 2025, money spent on new physical video games in the US crashed to just $1.5 billion, the lowest point ever since they started tracking it in 1995. To put that into perspective, physical game money dropped by an unbelievable 87% over 17 years, with a massive 28% drop in 2024 alone, followed by another 11% drop in 2025. The ease of the digital library had seemingly killed the disc. The early days of digital stores were simple. You still paid a normal price for a digital copy of a game, but the industry soon realized that charging a monthly subscription was way more profitable and stable than selling one game at a time. The goal changed from selling you a product to grabbing your money every single month through the Netflix of games model. Microsoft Xbox Game Pass launched as an incredible deal that shook the industry. For a small monthly fee, players got access to a rotating vault of over 100 games, including massive day-one releases from Xbox's own studios. At first, the math was a huge win for the gamer. Why pay $60 for one physical game when that same money could buy you half a year of endless digital access to dozens of amazing games? But as more people signed up and the crazy costs of buying big studios like Activision Blizzard piled up, the math behind the subscription model started to crack. To pay for the massive budgets of new AAA games, Microsoft had to completely change the service, adding multiple price levels and raising the cost to play. By late 2025, Xbox rolled out massive changes to Game Pass. Current core players were moved to an essential plan for $9.99 a month, which only gave access to a small list of 50 games and online multiplayer. Standard players were moved to a premium tier for $14.99 a month, which included over 200 games, but completely blocked day-one mega hits like the Call of Duty games. To actually get what the service originally promised, day-one major releases, cloud gaming, and extra catalogs from EA and Ubisoft, gamers were forced to pay for PC Game Pass, which went up to $16.49 a month, or the top-tier Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Ultimate got hit with a massive 50% price hike, jumping from $19.99 all the way to $29.99 per month. This aggressive price jump completely destroyed the original value for the gamer. At $29.99 a month, you are spending almost $360 a year just to rent a digital library. At the same time, the video game industry pushed the standard price of big standalone games to $80. When you look at the history of money, an $80 game is actually fairly cheap. For example, a $40 copy of Castlevania for the NES back in 1987 is equal to about $113 today when you factor in inflation. But the sticker shock of the $80 price tag still pushes people towards subscriptions, blinding them to how much they are really losing over time. Under the new rules, paying for just under 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate is the same as permanently buying an $80 game. A player spending $360 a year on subscriptions owns absolutely nothing when they stop paying. Subscribing to these super expensive digital services is exactly like treating your media library like a luxury hotel room instead of your own home. You get to use all the fancy stuff, but you can't keep the art on the walls, and the second you stop paying the crazy nightly rate, you're kicked out with nothing to show for your money. The bad math of modern subscriptions is made even worse by a much scarier truth about digital buying: the fake idea of ownership. When people moved away from physical discs, they thought that clicking buy on a digital store meant the same permanent ownership as walking out of a store with a sealed Blu-ray disc. The industry has proven this to be a total lie. Buying a digital game or movie today is legally like paying full price for a concert ticket, only to find out the venue can cancel the show halfway through and keep your money. You aren't buying property, you are buying a temporary license that can be taken away. This reality was shown loud and clear by the massive game publisher Ubisoft. In 2014, Ubisoft released The Crew, a huge open-world racing game that required you to always be connected to the internet. Millions of people bought the game, many buying physical discs thinking the disc meant they owned it forever. But because the game only ran on Ubisoft's private servers, the physical disc was completely useless without the company keeping those servers turned on. In late 2023, Ubisoft pulled the game from all stores, and by March 2024 the servers for The Crew were shut down for good. The game became totally unplayable, intentionally killed by its own creator. In response, two gamers filed a major lawsuit in California, claiming Ubisoft tricked buyers into thinking they were buying a game to own, instead of just renting a temporary license. Ubisoft's legal defense was cold, unapologetic, and very revealing about how the industry really views us. The company argued in court that players simply do not have absolute ownership rights to the games they buy. Ubisoft stated that the packaging and the long terms of service clearly said buyers were only getting a limited license to play the game, and that assuming anything else was completely flawed. This problem of disappearing media isn't just in gaming. The movie and TV streaming world does the exact same thing. In late 2023, Sony PlayStation announced that because of changing legal agreements with Warner Bros. Discovery, over 1,300 seasons of TV shows would be completely deleted from users' digital libraries. Keep in mind, this was content that people had paid for directly at full price, not shows streamed through a monthly subscription. While a massive public outcry eventually forced Sony to back down and give a 30-month extension, the whole mess exposed how fragile the digital world really is. Digital purchases are completely tied to corporate contracts. When those contracts end, your supposedly owned library vanishes instantly and you don't get a refund. As the list of deleted and lost media grows fast, saving digital history is becoming a crisis. Huge games like Forza Horizon 4, Spec Ops, The Line, WWE 2K24, and Project Cars 3 have all been ripped from stores because of expiring car licenses, music rights, or server costs. Licensed games like The Amazing Spider-Man and Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection disappear into the void, meaning future generations will never get to play them. The constant removal of consumer digital libraries has naturally caused fierce pushback from lawmakers and fans. People and politicians have realized that current digital store rules are basically false advertising. In the United States, real legal action happened with California's Assembly Bill 2426. Signed into law and starting January 1, 2025, this huge consumer protection law targets the fake idea of digital ownership. The law legally stops digital stores from using words that sound like real ownership, like buy or purchase, unless the digital item is free of digital locks and can be downloaded forever to your offline hard drive. For stores like Steam, the PlayStation Store, and Xbox, the law forces them to show a clear warning before you pay. To follow the rules and avoid getting sued, companies must make sure the buyer clicks a button proving they understand they are only paying for a license to use the content, and that this access can be taken away by the publisher at any time with no refund. Breaking this law is a crime that can lead to massive fines. While this new law doesn't stop companies from destroying games, it legally strips away the lie of ownership, forcing everyone to see how risky digital media is. At the same time, the grassroots Stop Killing Games movement has gained massive global attention. Sparked by the intentional killing of the crew, this group is fighting for consumer rights and challenging whether it is even legal for publishers to destroy goods they have already sold to people. By 2025, the movement successfully gathered over 1 million signatures, taking the fight to the European Commission and the European Parliament. By early 2026, the organizers announced they were building official action groups in both the United States and Europe to push for new laws that make it illegal to purposely break digital media. The public is quickly realizing that saving games and movies is impossible without physical copies. Faced with the loss of consumer rights, crazy subscription costs, and digital platforms deciding what we can and cannot play, a powerful pushback has started. Physical media is making a very real, very strong comeback. At first, major stores made it look like physical media was completely dead, highlighted by Best Buy's decision to stop selling physical movies entirely by early 2024, stripping Blu-ray and 4K UHD discs from all their shelves. However, that empty space was immediately filled by competitors and specialized sellers. Walmart stepped up as the main big box store for physical media, often expanding their disc aisles, while Target stuck around too. Specialized record and movie stores have become go-to spots for collectors wanting high-quality physical formats. This comeback isn't just happening because people miss the old days or want to own things. It is also happening because physical discs are simply better quality. Despite the flashy marketing from streaming platforms, 4K streaming is actually much worse than a physical 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray disc, especially when it comes to data compression and internet speed. Streaming platforms have to crush visual and audio data to handle different internet speeds for millions of people at once. Their video speeds usually cap out at around 15 to 25 megabits per second. This heavy compression causes weird visual glitches, color banding, and blocky shadows during dark movie scenes, flaws that you can easily spot on modern TVs. In sharp contrast, a physical 4K UHD Blu-ray disc runs at massive speeds regularly over 50 to 100 megabits per second. Because discs process 3 to 5 times more visual data, they completely eliminate those ugly compression issues. Plus, physical discs offer completely uncompressed, lossless audio like Dolby True HD and DTS HD Master Audio. Streaming services usually compress their audio, which ruins the full dynamic range and deep bass impact that home theater fans need. And finally, discs give you guaranteed maximum quality instantly without relying on your internet connection at all, meaning zero buffering and zero server outages. Taking advantage of this huge quality gap and the growing desire for real ownership, premium physical media labels have exploded in popularity in 2025 and 2026. Companies like the Criterion Collection, Arrow Video, Vinegar Syndrome, 88 Films, and Kino Lorber are doing incredibly well. These companies don't just print basic discs, they perform amazing 4K visual upgrades of old movies, pack in tons of behind-the-scenes documentaries, and put the media in beautiful, highly collectible cases. They have successfully turned physical media from a cheap, throwaway item into a premium collector's piece. Consumers are realizing that buying a premium 4K Blu-ray guarantees that the movie will never get hit by server crashes, secretly edited by corporations, or deleted because a licensing deal ended. It represents a permanent, high-quality item in a digital world that is always changing. The path of media has come full circle. The original days of physical ownership, represented by Blockbuster and GameStop, were strongly challenged by the ease of digital downloads and subscriptions pushed by Netflix, Steam, and Xbox Game Pass. However, the extreme downsides of this digital world, massive price hikes, disappearing digital games, server shutdowns, and the industry's shift toward charging more for less, have forced a change. The general agreement among industry experts and consumer rights groups is that physical ownership isn't just a nostalgic trend, it is becoming a permanent premium part of the market. As long as digital stores have the legal power to wipe your library out of existence, and as long as streaming platforms care more about saving internet data than delivering top-tier audio and video, there will always be a highly profitable, dedicated group of people who demand real physical copies. The lesson of the digital age is that convenience is often a trick for things that don't last. In a world where a game, a movie, or an entire digital library can disappear overnight just because a company wants to save a few bucks, a physical disc sitting on your shelf is the only true guarantee that you actually own it. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, as it took me a lot of work to make this video, so your support would be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to take care, brush your hair, and I'll catch you all in the next one.